Hey there, everybody. This is your host, Brother Nafis. We'd like to start off by giving thanks and praise to our Creator, because without giving thanks and praise, and without recognizing the favors which our Creator have conferred upon us, we would not be able to share with you guys or part with you guys any knowledge or any experience that we have without the grace and bounties of the Creator. So we like to start off by praising and giving thanks to the Creator. We have embarked upon a new project, which is me and another brother will be going over some of the different issues once a week pertaining to relationships, men and women in general. And it would be like a couples therapy, relationship therapy, or relationship workout, whatever wording we would pretty much pick or choose that we would deal with to go with what faces us. And I would like to just talk about some of the preliminaries, some of the things which you can expect moving forward within this new program. Hopefully we can all take some benefit from it. I'd like to start off by introducing myself as Brother Nafis. And like I said, I'm not an expert or a specialist in the arena of relationships. I don't believe anyone can actually say that they are. However, like we said, each one of us have our own different experiences in regards to relationships. And we are well aware that when it comes to human beings, we normally gravitate towards people who have some success in anything that they do. So if we're talking about relationships, you want to normally look at somebody who is a role model in relationships that has success with relationships, right? Such as marriage, family, etc. oriented. More to give any credit or credibility to what that person is actually saying. This is understandable from one perspective and not from another, because whatever experience you have is still considered to be a part of knowledge. Okay, that's a part of information that you have. You learned something from it, whether it was what they call a failed relationship or whether it was called a successful relationship. There were still Jews in that relationship that you learned that you can actually use and actually to improve yourself and others, or the next situation that you find yourself coming across. So I like to say that Brother Nafis, throughout my years of being married multiple times, I have not been married just one, I've been married multiple times. I have children from 3 women, as in relationships that I've been in, and they're not all from the same relationship. And some of those relationships from the 3 women has lasted for a long period of time. It wasn't really relatively short. Okay. Also, I was a part of a faith-based place of worship where I have conducted it for the last 8 to 9 years as serving as a religious guide in that community. And I gave marital counseling pretty much throughout my period of being a religious guide in that faith-based community. So I do have some experience in the area of dealing with relationships. So I would like to hopefully in this talk just give you a little bit of that background so that you can feel a little bit comfortable that I'm not just coming from a place of just shooting from the hip, as they say, pertaining to things. No, I am taking my experience. I am taking the experience of others that I have contact with and seen, because everything is different and we all can learn something new from one another and we all can learn different things. This show would not just be about bashing one particular sex over the other particular sex. All right. Just learning from our predecessors that talks about these areas, we seem to get our juices going whenever we down the other sex. And whoever can do it whoever can do it better or do it in the best way or do it, well, then these are the people gravitate towards. These are the ones who get the most views. These are the ones who become the most successful. You see how he talked to such and such. You see how he put down such and such. And we normally see that, such as with the Kevin Samuel situation. We normally see that, or with the Derrick Jackson situation, where someone might say that you just catering to the woman, and soon when you get caught up in the jam or something like that, it actually tarnishes your actual character. So we're trying to learn from those areas that, okay, we're not going to just bash one particular group, all right? Nor are we just going to uphold one particular group. We're going to try to be transparent for both parties involved, because a relationship consists of a man and a woman, okay? Relationships consist of both sexes. And if that's the case, then we must look at both of them honestly and objectively. Objective. We cannot look at them in a sense of, this one, is more superior than the other one. This one deserving more of that, and it's their fault. So I don't want to go into that. So there won't be no male bashing or women bashing on this show. But there will be heated topics on this show. There will be heated discussions that are mentioned on the show. There will be things that people say or do or have done, that will be discussed as to, in the light of, can we work with that? Is that correct? On the scale of justice and so forth. So those juicy tidbits will be into the show. All right. We will deal with those different things. And we have to know, as a rule of thumb, there are bad parties on both ends. There are immoral people, whether they're male or female. We're not going to exclude that. We're not going to act like that's not real. There are people who are uneducated. There are people who have bad and despicable character. Do you understand? So they're not only a harm to themselves, but they're a harm to others. And when they become into to a relationship, they get volatile because of the characteristics that person has. So this is true, all right? But it does not give anyone the right to push forth and things like that, to put another one down because of that. The things that we're going to discuss on the relationship workout or the relationship therapy is everything that hopefully you need to know about relationship therapy, right? Even if you're single or you married, this can work for you. This can help you. You can take it. It's just like when you go read that self-help book, or when you pick up a magazine, or when you're looking on the internet, or when you come across something, a post or a meme that might be relatable to whatever situation you're going through, that gives you some pointers far as healthy, unhealthy, far as this, what you can take and actually improve your situation even better. So that's the same thing with this show. You can look at it in that context. The things that we will be talking about is knowing, first and foremost, the causes or the reasons for relationships. Why do people get involved with one another? What is the purpose of that? All right, we're going to delve into 4 main reasons, and there are other reasons besides these reasons, but we would just say that these 4 main reasons will be pretty much the reasons we know they're at the head of why people get together. Such as, we know beauty, attraction is one. All right, there is a natural attraction that exists between opposite sex. No one can deny that. This is something that is true. Right, so this is going to happen. And it starts at an early age. It just doesn't start at a certain age that now you become attracted to the opposite sex. No, you can become attracted to the opposite at a young age. All right, this is something that is natural. So that's one of the reasons. Another reason we're looking into is the wealth and the status. Okay, normally the status and the wealth is another reason why people get together. Okay, to become a little bit better off in a social light, in a social standing. Okay, if they marry someone of a reputable standing within society, then their reputation will actually elevate, and their standing within society and their social climate will actually elevate. This happens both from the men and both from the women. Okay, this is something that definitely happens. Another reason to look into, we're going to delve into one of another main reasons, is lineage, coming from noble stock, marrying into good family, marrying into a noble family, marrying to someone who has prestige within that family, because this also elevates you on the social ladder. So this plays a part with the other one. A little bit, they're connected. And the last one is faith. Okay, and we're going to talk about that a little bit here in this segment. That we're not going to delve into it deeply, but I want to mention something about faith, that we have to understand the importance of faith and the role that it plays in any relationship. And for those people who say, okay, we didn't get together for that, we're not, one spouse might be more faith driven than the other spouse. How does that look? How does that work? Do we even care about that? Or do we worry about salary? Do we worry about finance? Do we know about this, et cetera, et cetera? A lot of those things will be dealt with and touched on within the show. Now, when we look at some signs of healthy relationships, we look at things such as, we're going to talk about those things such as effective communication. All right. Some of the things that we want to cover, is effective communication. What is effective communication? How do you know you're communicating effectively? How do you know that you're getting your point across and it's being respected and it's actually being heard and listened to, and you're getting the proper response that is needed or the proper respect regarding that? How do you know that? So we're going to talk about effective communication versus ineffective communication, because there's a such thing of a communication which is ineffective. All right. And there are parts of communications that you must understand in order for it to actually work. And that is comprehension. Comprehension plays a key component in most of the disputes that happen between parties. A husband, a wife, a man and a woman. If you look at it, a lot of the times, often the times, the way that they speak to each other, the way that they understand or misunderstand the other party will cause a problem or a conflict between them. This is actually true. All right. Also, we'll talk about emotional awareness. Okay. What is emotional awareness? Is the man responsible to be aware of the woman's emotion? Yes, we're going to get into that. Emotional awareness. Is the woman responsible enough to be in tune and to observe and to also take in the man's emotion? Yes. Emotional awareness is very big and it's extremely big in relationships, and it helps with a healthy relationship depending on how astute each party is to the other in regards to their emotions. So we're also going to talk about not just emotional awareness, but we're going to talk about cognitive support. What is cognitive support? How does that play a role in relationships? Is something big. We're going to also talk about not only cognitive support, or as we say, we're going to talk about transparency, okay, and objective patience. Okay, cognitive support. We're going to talk about transparency, clear and elusive transparency, the importance of that, of being transparent, which deals with honesty, which deals with loyalty, which deals with trust, which deals with all of those issues there that plays a key bedrock to relationships. Also, we're talking about objective patience. What is that? It's important that you understand that it mandates from each and every one of us when we get involved in these relationships, whether the kids are there or whether the kids didn't come along yet. When you involve with the other party, you have to exercise patience. You have to exercise patience in mostly everything. Even dealing with yourself, you have to exercise patience, okay? So we're going to talk about those things. Also, another area we're going to touch on is the compatibility. The four main areas where compatibility is important and must be highlighted between spouses. All right? They should, and of course you understand that compatibility should cover faith. You should be compatible in faith. This plays a major role. And for some people say, no, it doesn't play a major role. I've been with my spouse for over 10, 20 years and we don't get in a problem because, hey, you might don't care in regards to what governs your relationship or how morally sound you are, or whether or not this is the correct thing or the right thing. Somebody probably don't put up those problems for you. But in reality, faith does plays a part, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. All right. Also, education. Education is extremely important. How educated are both parties? Is one more educated than the other one? They don't have to be equal in intelligence. Okay? You don't have to be equal with your partner in intelligence, but you both should have an educational background. And I'm not just talking about Western education, but I'm just talking about period. You should both be enough to understand each other, to comprehend each other, and to be cognitive and to be able to do things. So that's true. So having education is important. That's a compatibility that you should share with the spouse you're looking to be with, the person you're looking to have this companionship, this intimacy, this support, all right? This longevity, this life with, okay, this family you want to build and develop, this, all of these different things that comes along with relationships, you're going to think about that, right? Also, we talk about shared interests. Compatibility should be there. Y'all should share similarities. Y'all shouldn't be carbon copies of one another, because that's not possible, and nor is that is expected. But you should share similarities. You don't want to be with somebody you don't share pretty much. Y'all don't have common themes that y'all share together. Y'all should share things which are similarly, right, between both man and woman. And also, you should have not only share social status. This plays a major part too. So all right, so a woman can be high on the social ladder, right, and the man that she's looking at may not be. That can cause a conflict. Vice versa, the man can be in a high on the social ladder, financially well stable, did good for themselves, got a good career, got good education, land them a good job, a good profession, a good trade, or a businessman, whatever. And then the woman doesn't have that. All right. And when we talk about maintenance plays a part of that. Maintenance plays a part in it because you're supposed to maintain that particular person according to what they're accustomed to. You understand? So you can look at those areas as well. So these are the things, the main topics we're going to cover, along with other things. We will be taking questions from the floor. We probably will be dealing with people coming in and talking, dealing with some of the problems that they have, and hopefully we'll be able to cover that. Now, what I wanted to mention a little bit about faith is that when you look in the mirror, right, each and every one of us, there's two parts to a relationship between man and woman. And a lot of times people don't do this, in my experience. And I know I'm talking about myself in my experience. How often do you prepare yourself before you get into the relationship? Way before the relationship. How often do you develop yourself and who you are? How often do you improve yourself and make sure you're the better version of yourself, the best version of yourself? How often are you honest with yourself? So when you look in that mirror, we're going to talk about what do you see? What is the reflection of what you're looking at, right? So the two types or the two kinds or sides to a relationship is the individual themselves, individually, and then them together collectively. All right? You have to understand. Two people separate in a relationship. You have the man and you have the woman. They have an individual outlook, individual perspective, individual character, individual personality, etc., etc. But when they come together now, they are a collective. How do they behave? How do they play off of one another? You understand? How does it work? Because sometimes people can be with other people and they can rub them the wrong way. And they can bring out some worse things in people. Or they can bring out the good in people. That's the influence that one party might have over the other. So you might find yourself in a relationship and you wonder why you've never been this way, but now you're acting this way. Now you're being this way because of that relationship. Knowing that if you were outside of that relationship, you know how you would be on a regular. You know that this is not you. This is normally not how you are. That normally happens. We might rub off the people that we are with intimately in the relationship that we're in, and it might affect us positive or negative, right? So you have to look at that. That's the two sides of relationship. Individual, how you were, okay? Because that plays a major part when you're coming in. How well did you work on yourself? And when you get in the relationship, do you stop working on yourself because you're in a relationship? Do you now focus everything and intention on that relationship and on the person and being involved in that person, or do you still continue to build on yourself? We should know the answer to that, okay? Dealing with that. The second thing I wanted to mention about the faith is that they say that when you look in the mirror, they say the eyes is the window to the soul, and they say that the mirror, for example, is the window to the soul and these things like that. But in actuality, if you look in the mirror, what do you see? You see more so the physical, right? You don't see your character in the mirror. I mean, none of us ever looked in the mirror and saw our character or saw inside of us, right? When we look in the mirror and we reflect in the mirror, we see our physical characteristics, our physical build, our physical features, right? That's what we see. It stops and is limited to the physical, but not to the inward part, all right? There's something else that serves as that mirror that look inside us inwardly, and that is faith. Faith is the mirror to that. You understand? Faith is the mirror to that. Whether or not you are a corrupted person, whether or not you're a wholesome person, whether you're a real good person or you're a bad person, all right? How would you know that? You can't tell that from a mirror. You look inside a mirror, you can't tell whether or not you're a good person or a bad person. You're not going to be thinking about that. You're going to be thinking about whether or not you're handsome, you're beautiful, you're attractive or not, right? You're not thinking about whether or not morally are you sound, right? So your faith would dictate that. That would serve as that mirror for you to see that. And it's imperative when we in these relationships that we understand how detrimental faith is to the relationship. Because when you get involved with someone and they don't have that morally sound judgment, and they don't make that when it comes to y'all sharing kids, or when it comes to y'all making major decisions, executive decisions within that family to actually grow, right? You're going to see that. They might don't agree with you. They might don't consider this to be wrong. And you might be like, yo, this is wrong. From a moral standpoint, this might be wrong, but they might tell you, that's not wrong. Under no circumstance wrong. And they might have been raised that way, or they might have the education that way. But you should have taken that into consideration before you jumped into that relationship with that particular person, because now it's going to cause a conflict. How do you resolve it? You understand? How do you resolve those issues? And that's what we want to address, because nobody, like I said, has all the 100% answers of how to deal with relationships. We only can use our experiences. We only can use things to try to help one another to get along. You have to remember, when you get involved with someone and you become intimate with someone, and when you share something with someone and you communicate or confide with someone, you have to understand that you are now signing up to that particular person. You're committing to that person. So the bad aspects of that person is included. The good aspects are included. This is what you have to deal with. How do you weave between the bad aspects of that person, and how do you, what's the name? I'm not saying you have to accept the bad of that person. What I'm saying is that comes along with that person. There are characteristics a person had before they met you that they haven't worked on, or haven't hashed out, haven't worked out, period. And there are some characteristics they have which is good, and you can have to understand that. So sometimes we get involved in these relationships, the first thing we want to do is blame the other party when something don't go right or something is not agreed. That's why we're going to talk about governance. A lot of people don't talk about that. 9 times out of 10 people don't talk about what should govern their relationship. If your culture, outlook, or perspective is governing your relationship, is that correct? How I seen my mom do it, or I seen my dad do it, or how I seen my cousin do it, or how I see the TV personality, the Huxtables, Bill Cosby show, or watching any show that's on TV, any sitcom, anything like that. This is how they work out relationships and problems. This is how we're going to adopt it. What I see on the gram, what I see on social media, is that what we're taking from? What is governing your relationship? A lot of times we don't look at that, and that's a lot of times we can't agree. 2 people are disagreeing with each other. You need a judge. You're going to need an arbitrator. Where's the arbitration? Who's going to arbitrate? Are you going to use your friend? Are you going to use your mom? Are you going to use your father? Are you going to use a relative? Are you going to use somebody else? Who are you going to use to arbitrate? And I think this is important questions that you should hash out before getting involved with someone. One of the big mistakes I was telling a friend of mine, is that I made throughout the years is when my faith in picking a woman, I normally say, okay, she's of the same faith as me, so we share the compatibility of the faith, right? So I say, okay, that's a big plus. That's according to the prophetic advice, I handle that. But in actuality, I did not. I didn't do that. Just because the person was sharing in the same faith as me, I didn't understand how well they practice or adhere to that faith. I didn't understand how well they understood or comprehend that particular faith. How much did that faith plays a part in their everyday decisions? Are they guided by that faith? I didn't take none of that in consideration. The way that they dress, I took that in consideration. Okay, they wear the religious garb, they wear this, they wear that, right? All of these different things I would take in. So that's a plus. I check it off. I married someone who shared the same faith as me, and they wear the garbs, etc. And that was cool. And I said, you know what? I'm acting off the prophetic advice. But then when you get into the situation, not only did I have my own baggage, I seen that, hold up, they're not matching up, right? So I didn't follow the prophetic advice. I didn't do the due diligence, right? And this particular person didn't have the things that I wanted. So now that I'm blaming them, because it takes a while for you to understand that, you're blaming them for the shortcomings they had when you met them. You have gave them solid expectations. You have put them on certain pedestals. You have expected and gave them higher expectations than that they have. You did that. You are the problem for that. It doesn't matter when you sit down with a person and they tell you everything you want to hear. When you're speaking and you're going for a job interview, you're not going to go there and tell the interviewer every bad thing about yourself, right? If you're sitting there trying to get the job, what you're going to do? You're going to sell yourself. You're going to market yourself. And you're going to put yourself in the best light. That's how you're going to explain it. That's the same thing when you're trying to court someone or you're trying to deal with someone. In a relationship, they're not going to tell you the bad about themselves. They're going to tell you all the good stuff, right? That's what they normally supposed to do because they want to make sure they land on the best foot just as well as you want to land on the best foot. So you can't hold that against them. A lot of time we do that. I'm gonna beat that person up, or you deceived me, it was deception, she's the worst or he's the worst. All of that was done when you skip past the due diligence or the due process that was needed. All right. And I know you might ask, well, how long does that actually have to take to do the due diligence? Where would you get that information from? That's not the time for this talk. And that's not where I want to go into that. So those questions, you can say that for last. I'm not trying to go into all of that area of where you're supposed to get it done. Hopefully you guys tune in, you guys feedback, give your input. Trust me, you have some relationships out there. I know if you really be honest with yourself, always try to look at where you made the mistake at, where you fell short at, and what you could improve within yourself. Then, after you do that self-evaluation, then you look at the other party's action. Don't look at the other person's action before you look at your own. Big mistake. Big mistake. Accountability is important. All right? So don't begin to look at the other person's actions first before beginning to examine your own. You should always start with yourself first, then you move to the next party. A lot of people don't want to do that. This is sheer honesty, right? You go talk to somebody, you get counseling, and I see this a lot. The man come to me, okay, I want you to, brother, I need you to counsel me and my wife. And then when he tells me the story and he gives me the part what he wants, he's going to mention the issue that he have with his wife. And he might paint her in a bad light. Likewise, vice versa. The woman, she comes. Can you arbitrate between our situation? Can you help me out with this, and that? And I had these cases happen where I'm in there trying to understand or gauge between two parties who are pointing the fingers at each other. So I have to stop them and say, no, let's look. What part did you play? What can you have done? Look at yourself. Let's forget whatever you're saying that this person is doing. Let's forget whatever you're saying that person is doing. So now that we can all be on equal footing. Once we're on equal footing, now we know that we both have this problem, that problem we need to improve. Now I can deal with the issue that's in front of me. Now we can deal with this, and that, because now we got to the root cause of the problem. Where it might have been at. It could have been misunderstanding. 9 times out of 10 it is. Or it could have been some unfairness. A person could have did something to oppress the other. Right? So this is stuff that you want to know how to deal with your family. How do you make it? And I just want to give you a heads up. There's no guaranteed way you're going to keep a relationship intact and it's never going to break up. The most righteous people on the face of this earth have been paired up with people that was unrighteous and the relationship didn't work. All right? There is no such thing of a person can get up here and tell you that if you do X, Y, and Z, you're going to remain forever with that person. That's not possible. You understand? We are not in control of each the other person's destiny. We're not in control of that. We don't know which way they might turn. Today they might be this way, but tomorrow we don't know what they might wake up on. We don't know what they might change. People find that. They say you're going through a midlife crisis. People been together for 20 years. Next thing you know, they want to do something totally different. So they tells the party, like, you know what? Yeah, I didn't miss this. I missed that. I'm not feeling this no more. And you've been thinking like, whoa, what's going on here, right? But you're not in the other person's heart. You're not in the other person's head. You don't know what they're going through and why they change. And you're not responsible for that. But yes, it's going to affect certain things, but that's just the reality. So it's no, you're going to be together forever. You can forget that. But you can strive, you can pray, and you can work, and you can do effective communication. That way it keeps y'all both on the same frequency. All right? If something is wrong, we can talk about it. All right? I don't want to find out something is wrong 2 years after the fact. I don't want to find out something is wrong 9 months after the fact. Or when you're telling me, oh, this is not going to work out no more. Or when I gave you the sign such and such. I don't want to do that. Effective communication helped me prevent that. So I know what I need to improve and what I need to do. Inshallah, and hopefully, God willing, we'll be able to do that. I'm sorry for just bashing up on that. So like I said, we will be doing it. We got to pick a day. I think we're looking at Thursdays. There's going to be another brother on here with me. And we're going to be using the gym as the background because really, I really believe that that's what we're talking about, conflict resolution, workouts. And the first thing you do when you begin to work out, when you begin to get yourself together, what you do? You begin to work out, right? You begin to work out in your body, you begin to work out on different things. So I think just literally, that's what we want to do. Pretty much want to work out in these relationships. Whatever I said that was not cool, I apologize for that. And we ask the creator to pardon us for that. Please stay tuned in for the next show and so forth. This is your brother Nafis. Thank you.